Very different type of video this time, and I am out with the 100-500 again, but not with the 1.4 extender. And my wife asked me to drop her and her friend off into Newcastle for them to go and see a show, and while they're in there I have come out for a little drive, what seems right out in the countryside here, but overlooking right down the runway of Newcastle Airport. I think the next plane to land is going to be in about the next 3 minutes, so it's all sort of long lens photography, and they're coming in from the other end, so they'll only come over my head for takeoff at the moment. The next plane coming in is a Boeing 737, and I can just see it turning at the very end of the runway. It's still, according to flight radar, 2,000 feet up. It's doing 157 knots, and this has come from Spain, and hopefully you might see on the camera now the landing lights on the plane, and it's almost directly in line with the runway now. This is due to land in the next 2 minutes. So it's dropped to 1,800 feet now. That's 1,600 feet. And it's getting that dusty time of evening now because they've only put all the landing lights on during the last probably 5-10 minutes. That's now 700 feet. It's now close enough you can actually see the two lights on the wings flashing. Newcastle is certainly not a busy airport like you get in some other locations, especially like Manchester or some of the London airports, but there are regular flights here. And today's weather, I mean, it's been really cloudy all day, but it's sort of broken out late afternoon and this evening here. One more flight to go out that I'll probably catch, and it's a BA flight that actually landed here probably about half an hour ago, and it's due to go out in about the next 15 to 30 minutes, I think it is. And at least that one, as long as they're not changing the direction of the runway, it should come straight over the head. Because these are not fast moving objects, I'm still shooting at a fairly reasonable fast shutter speed, which I'm slowly lowering as the light is fading, just to try and help keep the ISO down. And this main settings that I'm using on the camera is it's full manual, with the exception of set the ISO to auto ISO. So I've got the aperture as wide open as I possibly can for the focal length I'm using, and I'm just varying the shutter speed. Hopefully you can see the sunset through the back there. Sunset is actually at 8:40. And this next plane is due to take off at 8:30, so it will probably be the last images I get here. But it's interesting actually because there are a few sort of like openings along the roadway as you walk here. So I'm parked just literally south of the airport at this end, somewhere I think it's called Callerton Parkway. It's actually a metro line which runs from the Newcastle city. And the good thing about that car park, it's literally right next to the airport, and parking charges are free after I think it's 5 o'clock at night. And I think possibly, I'm not sure about weekends as well, but certainly evenings is free. But if you've got to pay, I think it's only something like £1.80, which covers you for 24 hours. So it's really, really cheap. And it's about a half mile or so walk up here. You have to come up from the road there, over a couple of roundabouts, which goes over one of the main roads. There's no real footpath there, so if you do go there, you have to be really, really careful, especially if it's going to be busy with traffic. And then you come down, it's almost like a country road which runs all the way down the side here. And I don't know if you can actually see the house that's just through there. That's on the actual roadway, so you can see how far I've walked up here. And this, I think, is like a proper, almost like an official spot for the actual plane spotting, because there's even a seat just in the bushes in the gap here for people who want to come here and sit here for probably most of the day just watching the planes coming in. And I'm pleased that the planes are taking off this way. I've got a slight breeze on my back now, so they will be taking off in this direction as well, because at least that way I'm getting what little light I'm getting from the sun at the moment come down to hopefully illuminate the front of the plane. And I did notice earlier in the day when I looked on flight radar about possibly coming here, all the planes were coming in from this way, so I would have been, especially in the evening like now, I would have been shooting straight into the sun. And when I did walk up here about an hour or so ago, the sun was fairly high in the sky and it would have been right in your eyes. I can hear the flight has now, engines are starting up. Now I don't know whether it shows on the camera here, but the plane has now left the airport and it's probably just now on the left there, just about under the air traffic control tower. So it's going to taxi all the way down the left hand side to the far end of the runway, where it will then join the runway and head straight back this way. So this one's a British Airways flight. It's an Airbus A320 and it's flying here from Newcastle to London. That's London Heathrow. And it's now going down the taxiway right under the tower. It's now at the very end of the taxiway, turning right and about to head onto the runway. Okay, there goes the engines up. I've got to say, really pleased to come here this evening. Really is a nice place to come, just to know that you're somewhere where you can literally look right down the line of the runway, and with the planes taking off this way, it's absolutely ideal. We'll certainly come back here again. The next plane doesn't take off until something like about 10 to 10, so that's far too late to be stood here. It will be dark. The next landing is not going to be until at least 10 past 9, and that's going to be half hour after sunset. So I'm going to start heading back towards the car. just got back to the car, and that was probably about a 15-minute walk. So it's somewhere between half a mile and probably about 3/4 mile there. If you do come here, just be careful on the roadway there, because there's no proper footpaths or anything. Definitely a different type of video today. My wife asked me, just I think it was yesterday, if I would take her and her friend to the theatre in Newcastle because she's struggling to walk the distance. So I thought, okay, I'll just see where I'll possibly come to take some photographs while she's actually at the theatre. So I did a fair bit of research online. There's a place on the East End as well, but you don't get such a good view of the runway from what I believe. So it was really quite handy. I mean, I was quite worried when I first come here this evening, as that I knew all the planes were coming in from the west, which would have meant that I'd have been shooting towards the sun. But fortunately, when I did actually get there, all the planes were coming in from the east. So they were taking off right over my head, and they were coming into land at the far end. And the initial light when I got there was really, really nice. Where the fields were full of sheep and everything, just looking down at the runway, it was that nice golden orange colour. And I think that also added to the images. Now, I may not have displayed very many images in the video, and that's purely and simply because there was only 2 or 3 planes take off while I was there and 2 or 3 planes land. So it wasn't lots of different viewpoints to actually take. It was just those stages of the aircraft either taking off or landing. I suppose the message from this video really is that you might be taking your spouse, friend or somebody to a location doing a taxi job, or family members or something, and dropping them off there. Now, even if you're not waiting around for them to go and pick them up later, maybe have a look for the area for where you can possibly go and get some interesting images with your camera. Especially like where I am here, free parking this evening. Even if I'd come, say, like during the week, during the daytime or something, £1.80 for parking, that's absolutely nothing. And I'd have quite gladly driven in here, paid the £1.80, walked off down the road and disappeared down there for a few hours. Hopefully this has given you some thoughts about different areas where you can possibly go out and take some images. Thanks a lot for watching.